So our topic for this evening will be gout in a primary care setting. Now, sa inyo ba, siguro let me show some virtual hands kung lahat ba ng pasyente kailangan mag-undergo ng blood uric acid, especially if you're considering joint pain, gout on the first consult. Sino nagre-request? Be honest. Meron ba? On the first consult, magpapacheck ka ng uric acid. Siyempre ako, nagre-request din naman ako ng uric acid. Even on the first consult. No? Tingin tahimik nyo. Okay? But not all cases of you present with joint pain, hindi mo kailangan mag-request ng case or ng uric acid test. Okay? So, let's define first the case. So, what is gout? Gout is an increase in urates in the body that leads to the deposition of monosodium urate crystals in various tissues. So, these tissues may be your joints, your bursa, your cartilage, and even your muscles. Now, the important precondition for MSU deposition or your crystal deposition is hyperuricemia. But if may mga ganong instances, is hyperuricemia equating directly with gout? The answer dyan is hindi. Okay? You need hyperuricemia as a predisposition, but not all hyperuricemia, okay, is equated to gout. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong asymptomatic hyperuricemia. Okay? So, gout leads to acute or chronic inflammation of the joints. Yun yung qualifier mo. There should be joint pain. Okay, joint pain and the presence of elevated na uric acid crystals. Deposition. Deposition, ha? From the spaces, hindi sa blood. Okay. Kapag hyperuricemia, urates in the blood pa lang yun. Pero it's not necessarily directly sa tissues. So what do you need to do para ma-identify if there is urate deposition sa joints? You do a synovial fluid analysis. Pero syempre, thinking of synovial fluid analysis is invasive, painful, and syempre, papa-subject mo ba yung pasyente mo for a synovial fluid? Aspiration? Most of the time, hindi kayang gawin yun. In the setting abroad, or let's say US, ganun, UK, Australia, ganun, they can do synovial fluid aspirates in office settings. Okay? However, sa atin kasi yung practice, they are often done in the setting of orthoclinics or those who are in the orthopedics, no? Pero in primary care, kaya din naman natin gawin nun. But as long as we have the modalities like an ultrasound and aseptic or minor OR procedure or office clinic na pwede natin gawin. Unfortunately, hindi natin magagawa yun. Okay. So hyperuricemia is the precondition for gout. Now, it is the excessive uric acid production and there is increased uric acid levels in the blood. It can be predisposed due to inherited enzyme defects. So maraming mga enzyme deficiencies that can equate to hyperuricemia. You could browse that later on sa mga journals natin. There are also other clinical disorders. Let's say, for example, leukemia, blood disorders that will also predispose you to the elevated hyperuricemia. Now, the most common culprit and kadalasan ito yung binabanggit natin na reason bakit nagkakaroon ka ng gout is it is usually induced by the diet. Okay, aside from that, meron ding drugs na pwede mag-increase ng uric acid. Now, can you give me an example of a drug that can increase uric acid sa mga clerks? Or
Diuretics po. Loop
diuretics. Okay, ano example ng loop diuretic?
Furosemide.
Furosemide. Sige. Okay, those drugs that will increase levels of uric acid, you have to reconsider them as well. May mga gamot din for TB that can also increase, okay, uric acid. Kaya yung mga initial na screening natin, it also includes your uric acid, no? May hypertension medication din that is implicated for elevation of uric acid. So you have to weigh the pros and cons before giving any medication. Toxins can also increase uric acid production. Now, aside from the production, there is also noted decrease in renal clearance. Okay, so uric acid is usually excreted sa proximal convoluted tubules ng kidneys. Okay, and in that situation, kung may problem sa renal nephron natin, it can impair the excretion ng uric acid. So some instances would be your genetic disorders like your medullary cystic kidney disease or chronic renal insufficiencies, volume depletion, obesity, and diabetes. Okay, and then it can also be due to as well your diet and drugs. Yeah. So for gout, there are relatively three phases: acute, interval, and chronic gout. Sa mga nakikita natin sa pasyente natin, nakikita natin yung mga yan in all phases. Sa mga follow-up natin na wala ng joint pain after nyo naggamutan, or most often we diagnose them as cases of interval gout. If your patients came to you sa clinic complaining of joint pain sa ankles or sa big toe or sa knee, okay, one joint lang, monoarthritic, ganun, and very painful, that is usually during the phase of an acute attack, where you diagnose them as acute gouty arthritis. Okay? So kung acute gouty arthritis, yung characteristic niya usually is monoarthritic or monoarticular, meaning isang joint lang ang namamaga. They are more exposed or expressed at the lower extremities compared to the upper extremities. Kaya pag napapansin yung mga pasyente, sa may paa, sa may sa may heel area, sa gitna ng paa, sa may big toe, yun yung kadalasan area na nagkakaroon sila ng joint pain. After nila kumain ng, let's say, for example, karahay, or kumain sila ng bopis or sisig, mga lamang loob, or after nila uminom na maraming beer. Those are usual culprits for the attacks of your gout. No? Other than joints, they also tend to exhibit symptoms along the extra-articular sites. So either the bursas or the olecranon bursas, and even the tendons or Achilles tendon. May patient kami, I think, nung Monday ba to? Yung pain niya, I think, hindi ko sure kung sa CVMC to or sa The Medical City. Sa may Achilles tendon. Okay, sa lower part ng gastro, sa may heel area. Reddish siya, namamaga. And isang paa lang. So most often than not, we suspect acute gout. And kapag yun ang presentation ng isang adult, always consider gout pa rin. Kung lalo na monoarthritic na isang side lang. Attacks can usually occur and last for 2 to 3 weeks. Okay? So early attacks, you can classify the attack of gout can either be an early attack if it's less than 12 hours from the onset. Well-established attack, 12 to 36 hours, so more than 1 to 2 days. Late attack with more than 2 days na yung attack mo. Okay? So acute gouty arthritis is followed by the second phase, intercritical or your interval gout, period in between an attack, wherein there is symptom-free. Meaning wala na siyang pain. Hindi na masakit sa tuhod, sa may sa may paa, pero does not equate na wala nang uric crystal sa spaces at saka sa joints niya. It's always important din to check na during these situations kung may level ng uric acid elevation dito. Now, during the time of your acute gout, tinanong ko kanina, kailangan ba magpa-check ng uric acid? Okay. Lalo na kung first attack. The usual instance kasi, kapag meron kang acute gout, minsan hindi pa tumataas yung uric acid levels sa blood. Okay? It usually elevates after 2 to 3 weeks kapag nag-subside na. Okay? If meron mang elevation, that is usually part of the 90% of the population. Pero may 10% of the population na normal ang uric acid levels niya during the first attack. Okay? So kung ipa-prioritize mo yung pasyente na i-manage, kasi medyo matagal-tagal magpa-check ng blood chem, gano'n sa clinic, unahin mo munang bigyan ng control or management bago mo ipa-request yung uric acid. Lalo na kung nagmamadali na kayo sa hapon. Okay? Importante if it's classically presenting as gout, treat the patient na. Huwag nang munang ipa-uric acid muna kita tapos balik ka bukas para ubigyan kita ng gamot. Huwag ganon. Dapat bigyan mo na agad ng gamot. Okay? Agad-agad kung highly suspicious ka, gout yun. Okay? Now, let's say for example, bumalik na siya after 2 weeks, intercritical gout na, wala nang symptoms. Meron din tayong consideration dyan kung ano yung mga uri ng gamot na dapat isimulan. Okay? At this stage, wala nang symptoms, pero you need to check the level of your uric acid. Okay? Importante kasi dito, nandyan ka na yung sa peak ng blood uric acid levels sa yung blood. And then the third phase is your chronic gout. If left untreated, at tuloy-tuloy pa rin mataas yung uric acid levels sa blood and even deposition sa tissues, the attack can develop to chronic gout. They present with tophies and then they can also persist with inflammation, specifically on the joints and connective tissues associated with erosion and deformities na makikita siya sa X-ray. Okay? So kung chronic gout, madalas dyan na pumapasok yung imaging. Pag napapansin nyo, yung imaging kasi, nagagamit na lang siya kapag meron na mga cases of medyo may chronicity na yung joint pain niya, meaning matagal-tagal na siyang hindi niya pinapansin yung symptoms niya, tapos lumalala lang siya due to intake of food. Padagdag mo na yung imaging. Baka kasi kung may erosions, it's already marked as a condition of chronic gout. No? Nagkakaroon na siya ng erosion sa bony prominences. No? So chronic tophaceous gout is marked by polyarticular arthritis and the formation of a tophi. Ang tophi, yung para siyang shock na puti, na outgrowth sa may mga joint areas natin. So I think nakakita naman na kayo ng ganyan sa clinics. They can be disfiguring, debilitating, and disabling. Okay? Lalo na kung marami na, multiple tophi na yung pasyente. So tophis are usually painless and appearing as firm nodular fusiform masses located in the subcutaneous tissue. So the deposition of the crystals are already in the skin. And even the correlated areas near the joints. So doon na siya nagpe-present kasi sobrang taas na yung uric acid deposition niya. So if there is a tophi, the usual presentation in the blood is represented to be a level of 9 milligrams per deciliter above na uric acid. So pag nakikita niyo yung mga patients natin na wala pa naman tophi, naglalaro siya sa 7, sa 8, doon, kailangan lang natin silang i-address, i-educate, na wag na pabayaan, wag nilang pababayaan yung levels na to, and they should be strict with their diet. Okay? So yung number na yan, 9 milligrams above, highly predictive na that they can develop tophis in the future. Now, this is important for us as clinicians, especially in the primary care setting. Kasi syempre, hindi lahat ng pagkakataon available din yung yung mga blood levels natin, blood parameters natin or diagnostics natin. So it's always important to look for clinical scoring, no? For the clinical scoring, this clinical criteria that was developed by DOG under the 2015 gout classification criteria of the ACR, mahalaga itong malaman. Pero pag napansin nyo, sobrang dami ng criteria na pwedeng gamitin, no? You have to assess the bursas and as well as joint involvement. So, based on this criteria, you could score the patient. Wait lang. Wait, 5 minutes. Wait lang. Hello. Yan. Okay na tayo. Sorry. Sorry lang ng tanong. Sige, going back. So, according to the 2015 gout classification criteria by the ACR, kailangan mo lang may identify clinical parameters by means of your history and physical exam, and then also laboratory parameters. And kung available, your radiologic parameters. Now, ano ang cutoff natin dito to say, let's say, my definitive tayo na consideration of gout? The magic number there is 8. No, the number 8. Kung score mo is around 8 and above, okay, that is usually the presentation that you would consider na may gout yung pasyente. Okay? So, assessing the joints, specifically mataas ang number dyan of the first metatarsal joint, so that is near the big toe pala. The characteristics na namumula siya, okay, namumula at the same time meron siyang pressure on the affected area, kung lalo na kung hinahawakan mo may pain, and nahihirapan siyang maglakad. So check of the, kung tatlong characteristics meron siya, that's already +3, no? Kung let's say dito sa time course, the presence of more than 2 following regardless of anti-inflammatory treatment, if let's say the time of maximal pain is less than 24 hours with resolution happening in less than 14 days, and then with complete resolution between symptomatic episodes, meaning nagkakaroon siya ng episode na meron din siyang episode na nawawala yung symptoms, which is your interval gout, di ba? Or intercritical phase. So kapag nakikita mo yung occurrence ng cycle na to, like nagkakaroon ng attack, and then nagkakaroon ng intercritical, then nagkakaroon ng attack ulit. So kung recurrent yung cycle na yun, it could score a score of 2. Kung may presence na ng TOEFI, automatic na 4 points na yon. So that is, by means sa clinical assessment pa lang, makaka-provide ka na ng at least 8 scores kung, let's say, may MTP, 3 characteristics, and presence of TOEFI, or yung cycle niya. So, dun pa lang, kahit di mo na kailangan yung laboratory parameters, makakapag-diagnose ka na ng gout. Now, kung let's say, hindi pa na-satisfy yung clinical parameters mo, you move forward to the labs. So you check your blood uric acid. So may grading naman sila dito. Kung let's say for example less than 4 milligrams, syempre negative 4 na yon, hindi na siya gout. Kung around 6 to 8, that's 2 points. 8 to 10, that's already 3 points. More than 10, that is 4. Pag more than 10 nga, sabi natin kanina, di ba? A highly suspicious case of chronic gout na siya because it might predispose patient to develop TOEFI. Okay? Now, kung wala ka naman available na urates or hindi ka pa swak doon, at available naman ang synovial fluid analysis, edi better. Pero kung negative naman yun, mag--2 ka pa sa scoring mo. Okay? Now, pwede ka rin naman magpa-imaging like your X-ray and even your ultrasound. So the results of our ultrasound usually is the double contour sign or the evidence of gout-related joint damage on X-ray. Plus 4 yung dalawang yun. So this can be useful lalo na pag nakita nyo sa clinics para ma-guide kayo kung ano ba, kailangan ko bang ipagawa yung uric acid. Kung let's say, nakascore na ako ng 4 sa clinical parameter, pagawa ko ng uric acid or nakascore ako ng 5, wala pang 8, so kailangan ko pa ipagawa yung x-ray or either yung uric acid. Doon ka mag-decide. Pero kung let's say, sa clinical parameters pa lang, naka-8 ka na, naka-8 points ka na, kahit wag na, mag-start ka na ganun tungutan. So the EULAR recommendation for gout, hyperuricemia is not a diagnostic of gout because it's still in the blood. Tissue, presence of uric deposition, must consideration for patients with gout. No? So the presence of MSU crystals in the fluids and or tophi aspirate is more definitive for gout. In any case na may adult arthritis, gout should always be considered as a diagnosis or a differential diagnosis. Lalo na kung monoarthritic siya. Okay? If, let's say, for example, like in our setting, walang synovial fluid identification, you can request for an X-ray. You can request for an X-ray for our patients. Now, ito din, mas maganda rin itong approach in scoring for patients in gout, na may gout, another. So the likelihood of gout can be estimated, especially in a primary care setting, lalo na sa family medicine clinic. You could use this parameter. The gout symptoms onset within 24 hours, that's 0.5. Joint is red, nagkakaroon ng redness, that's 1 point. The patient has 1 or more comorbidities, 1.5 points. The patient is male because it's equating to cases na yung patient na lalaki, mas madalas uminom ng alak, that is usually highly predisposed in flares with gout. No? Prior patients reported arthritis, meaning nagkakaroon na siya ng history ng joint pain, that's already 2 points. If it's involving the NTP, NTP joint, it's 2.5. And yung urate labs of more than 5.88, that's 3.5. So a score of more than 8 pa rin will be highly suggestive of gout. Okay? Kung intermediate siya, score of 5 to 7, sa guideline, it may suggest fluid analysis, but we can also consider doing your X-ray or imaging. Lalo na kung wala tayong capabilities of doing joint fluid analysis. Okay? Sana magamit nyo to sa mga cases nyo sa clinic for identifying cases of gout. No? Just remember the magic number 8. So laboratory tests that can be done, synovial fluid analysis, and serum urate levels. So hyperuricemia is more than 6.8. BUA may be normal in 10% of cases during attacks. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina. So if it's necessary to do the blood uric acid test during the first attack, if you are, let's say, weighing in the cost effectiveness of your patient and you are highly considering naman na gout, okay, clear cut by means of clinical assessment, more than 8 yung score mo, kahit after follow-up mo na lang ipagawa yung uric acid, you start the patient for treatment of acute gout attack. Okay, later on ka na lang blood uric acid. So ideally, kapag mag-measure ka, kapag during an attack, it should be done 2 to 3 weeks after the attack. Lalo na kung talagang sabi ko, highly suspicious kang gout yan. Kasi mas mabilis ang turnover. Let's say for example, di ka pa decided na uric acid, na gout yung pasyente mo. Anong next na pinakamabilis na pwedeng ipagawa? X-ray. You check if the patient has depositions or yung deposition levels of your gout, kung may in the presence of the area, let's say sa joints, sa paa, may erosions, makikita mo, highly suspicious of patients with gout, plus 4 na agad yun sa scoring system mo. You could also you could also increase your decision making in managing patients with gout. Para yung blood test levels mo na lang, you'll save that on the follow-up. Okay? That is 2 to 3 weeks after the attack. Yan. Other diagnostics that can be done, plain X-ray or skeletal X-ray of the muscle or the limb, usually sa lower limb, diba? For chronic capacious gout, you look for erosion, sclerotic margins, overhanging edges of the bone, or calcification in some tophies. Joint spaces are usually preserved until late stages of the disease. For ultrasound, you look for the double contour sign or snowstorm appearance of uric acid deposition. You could also do a CT or MRI. Pero syempre, if you're looking for it to be cost-effective, a simple X-ray can do. Now also, you have to understand kung you're suspicious with gout, you have to identify then other differentials na that can be considered aside from gout. Kadalasan din dyan, because it's red, it's warm, and if let's say nagkaroon ng fever, you have to identify then if it's not septic arthritis. Okay, you have to rule out na hindi siya septic arthritis as early on if let's say may history of fever, may history of sexually transmitted diseases like gonococcal infection, ganon. Rule out mo muna yung mga yon before highly considering gout. Now, other conditions, pwede rin acute calcium pyrophosphate crystal arthritis, pseudo gout can also be one, reactive arthritis. If the patient is a known case of psoriasis, meron din case of psoriatic arthritis. So, look for the past medical history din ng mga pasyente because they may also present with hyperuricemia and they will also present with joint pains. Okay, may mga systemic na autoimmune conditions din that can mimic gout, okay, or rheumatologic diseases. Now, what are the risk factors na you will consider na highly suspicious na pwede siyang gout? Kapag nakita nyo na sa scoring system, ang pagiging lalaki is a risk factor for gout. Mas madaming lalaki nagkakaroon ng gout kaysa sa babae. Not unless menopausal na yung babae. Age can be a huge risk factor because as you grow older, your body tends to deposit more crystals. Then, yung diet din niya can also be one. And alcohol intake. Specifically sa alcohol, beer is a risk factor. Pero in general, kahit yung spirit or whiskey, ganun, pwede rin pa maging source yun ng, as a risk factor for gout. So you have to identify them. You have to address din kung let's say alcoholic siya, you do your audit C. I-check mo. Para in the latter stage nang nag-check up ka, you have to follow up with counseling, motivational counseling na mag-quit na siya, binge drinking, or do counseling for smoking. May mga ganong situation. So you have to be proactive din pag ma-identify mo may mga risk factor siya. Drug use, the use of medications that can increase the risk. So dapat guided ka din for co-management. If let's say ongoing medications sa mga pwedeng mag-cause ng increase in gout, para ma-refer mo na the patient also has hyperuricemia, refer back to the management kung sino yung nag-prescribe ng unang gamot. Okay? Lead exposure can also be one, obesity and renal insufficiency. Yeah. Metabolic abnormalities, ito din, kailangan mo rin kasi ma-identify na mas nagkakaroon ng driver, ang driving force, ang gout, kapag marami pa siyang ibang comorbidities. Pag napapansin nyo sa mga pasyente natin, majority of them are metabolic disorder or metabolic dysfunction, no? Meron siyang MET syndrome, hypertension, obesity, dyslipidemia. So aside from targeting or managing your gout, you have to address also the comorbidities. Kasi kung hindi na-address na maayos yung mga yan, kaya nga ng pasyente ko kanina doon, ay pasyente natin kanina, kung hindi natin na-address na maayos yung mga comorbidities na, like, tinatawanan niya lang yung pag-inom niya ng alak, okay, tinatawanan niya lang yung high blood niya na mataas na wala lang siya nararamdaman, it will just be negligible kung nabibigay ka lang ng gamot. You have to address, okay, directly na this is one of the problems why you cannot control your condition. This is the problem why you cannot control your gout at persistent pa rin na sumasakit yung mga kasukasuhan mo. Kasi sinasawaling bahali mo yung mga iba pang karamdaman mo. Okay? So it's important for you as a doctor to open up to the patient na ito kailangan mo din i-address. Okay? Now, if may mga ma-identify kang comorbidities, you have to work them up as well. So it's important that you check other parameters and manage them accordingly. So patient education, it should always be a shared decision style. Kaya if may isang click ka rin nakita, I always ask the patient kung ano yung gusto niyang unahin, i-address, ano yung gusto niyang baguhin. Okay? It will not always be coming from me. Hindi lahat ng sagot manggagaling sa akin. It should always be coming from the patient. Para ma-realize niya na ako, siya nagbanggit nito, siya mismo yung nagbibigay ng sarili niyang sagot sa kanyang karamdaman. So it should always be, kumbaga mutual. Hindi yung paternalistic na yung doktor lang yung nagbibigay ng tulong or nagbibigay ng advice. You have to let the patient realize na yun yung kailangan niyang baguhin. Kasi kung nanggagaling na sa kanila na ito na dapat pala yung kailangan kong i-focus or baguhin sa lifestyle nila, mas nare-realize na nila na marami silang ginagawang mali. Hindi yung parang sinesermonan mo lang sila. Okay? Kasi kung sinesermonan mo lang sila, parang nagmimistulan na parang estudyante lang sila. Kumbaga, hindi minsan naging effective. Hindi mo may pukpok yung education sa kanila. Dapat manggaling sa kanila yung sagot. That's the trait of being a good coach as well. Parang ipupush mo yung sagot from them. It will not be from you. Okay, better coaches can be better educators, lalo na kung self-reliance sa kanila yung sagot. So you have to practice also that type of education of your patients. Baton nyo sa kanila kung ano yung kailangan nilang baguhin. Okay? Lifestyle modification, it follows with the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So that will be a separate topic, pero it's always important that you emphasize low purine diet. Okay? So low purine diet will primarily focus on avoiding products or food that is high in purine levels. Now, the misnomer or malaking fallacy dyan is the consumption of beans, okay, or legumes. Yung mga yan, they can be consumed. Actually, legumes and beans can reduce, okay, uric acid levels because they are more efficient in regulating the turnover of uric acid rather than animal-based purines. Mas prefer ko na mag-take siya ng purine-rich food na from the plant-based rather than animal-based. Kasi mas mahirap tanggalin ang mga cases na may animal-based na purines compared to plant-based. Example, pag kumain siya ng red meat at saka like red meat like pork and beef, madalas yon yung mga culprit na nagkakaroon ka ng symptoms. Kapag niluto mo yung balatong o yung mung beans, 'di ba? Sinasahugan niya ng piniritong baboy, 'di ba? O longganisa. Yun yung nagti-trigger ng symptoms niya rather than yung longganisa alone. So you have to educate them also kung paano yung proper way of cooking the food. Okay? Exercise can also be one way because ang takot kasi nila sa mga joint pains, bawal mag-ilakad-lakad. No, that's the misnomer. You can mobilize pa rin. Importante pa rin para magkaroon ng increased production of the synovial fluid. Okay? As long as yun kaya mo, yun natotolerate mo. Okay? Huwag yung typical na bawal kang maglakad, bawal kang mag-exercise. No? You could still mobilize, you could still walk, but at a tolerated pace. If magkaroon ng pain, you take your pain medication. Now, another thing that you need to inculcate sa mga pasyente na to, di ba, malakas silang minom. Kain sila ng karne. And then, mabigat din sila, malaki ang BMI nila. So, losing weight is also very essential in cases of gout and even metabolic diseases. Okay? Kasi yung increase na protein, okay, na build up sa katawan nila, it will also convert to purine kapag na hindi na degrade na maayos. Okay? Kaya nagkakaroon ng increased deposition or uric acid deposition sa pasyente din. And pag iniisip nyo sa joints nila, pag bumibigat ka, it adds more pressure sa mga weight-bearing joints mo. Example, your back, your spine, your hip, your knees, and even sa may Achilles or sa may sa paa mo. Yung tendon doon, usually doon nagkakaroon din ng pain. So sa mga weight-bearing areas mo, doon nagkakaroon ng pressure. And with that pressure, tapos may deposition ng crystals, mas nagkakaroon ka ng problema sa symptoms mo. So it's always important that you emphasize control of their weight in cases of gout. Okay? Gradual calorie restriction and exercise are essential. Avoid crash dieting, including cases of high protein or low carb diet, since they can cause ketosis and results to hyperuricemia. Okay. Marami kasing fad na, may mga diet na ganyan, uli ngayon na lumalabas kahit sa Facebook. Okay. So there are turnovers between low carb and high protein. Kapag ganung situation kasi, mas ini-emphasize na yung carnivore diet, gano'n. Karne kasi yun. So there is a high purine intake doon sa situation na yon. And yes, wala kang carbs, wala kang kanin, gano'n. Pero yung high protein na yon, yung excess nun, pag hindi mo naman nagamit, it will lead to high purine buildup sa katawan mo. And later on, it will cause increased deposition of urates in your joints kung hindi mo nagagamit ng maayos. So, use these types of diet cautiously, no? Ingat-ingat lang. Kasi medyo may mga ganyan kasing mga support group sa Facebook, parang may iba nagko-comment na sumasakit na yung tuhod nila and ongoing pa rin sila. So you have to be guided by a doctor as well if ever you're doing such types of diet. Exercise is always important. Sabi nga dito, 45 minutes, 4 times a week. Low impact, meaning you don't need to run. You don't need to sprint. Walking, biking, swimming are essential. And even aerobic exercises are also recommended. Okay, high impact, basketball, volleyball, tennis, gano'n. Medyo laylo ka na doon kasi it will add more impact to your knees and your joints. If you are currently on the face of an acute gout attack, medyo layo-layo ka kasi it might aggravate your symptom. Pickleball, depende kung tinatakbo-takbo mo kasi parang hindi naman masyado. May clear lang naman yung court. Pwede naman yun. Pero siguro sa doubles na lang. Yan. Dietary, nabanggit ko na to. Alcohol intake, well, no level of alcohol is healthy according to the WHO. So as much as possible, when you see a patient that is consuming alcohol, advise them to quit, okay, or avoid alcohol intake during treatment. Smoking, syempre, smoking cessation. Fluid intake to 3 liters. Okay. Now we go to the treatment. Ito na yung kwan natin. Medyo word dito, pero just listen to me. For acute gout attack, pinakamahalaga dyan is kung acute phase, you have to address the pain. Okay? You don't address the uric acid levels. Okay? Address the pain. Yun ang main goal natin. Alleviate the pain and inhibit inflammation. So if you inhibit inflammation and alleviate the pain, the best medications that should be given during an attack should always be your pain medication. Okay? Your analgesics, as well as your anti-inflammatory medications like your steroids. Okay? Wala pa dyan sa acute gout phase ang initiation ng febuxostat and allopurinol. Okay? Dun yun sa later stage kapag nag-reduce na yung levels ng uric acid. Now, there's no single best management or meaning no standard in what to start first. Will you give your NSAID or you give your corticosteroids or colchicine? Now, in the primary care setting, ang pinaka-available madalas dyan, NSAIDs, colchicine. May corticosteroids din naman. If let's say available sa pharmacy natin, prednisone, pwede tayong mag-start. 5 milligrams once a day, yun ang pinaka-initial dose, pwede natin i-increase based on the weight. Okay? Because it's an anti-inflammatory. So pwede kang mag-provide just as long as you educate the patient correctly. Now, specific anti-inflammatory agents should be based upon the patient's factor. Kasi let's say for example, NSAIDs. Weigh mo yung chances na bibigyan ng NSAIDs kasi baka mamaya yung pasyente mo may gastric ulcer. So you have to consider that situation. Okay? Aside from that, colchicine. Colchicine treatment should also be considered kasi mas mabilis naman siyang makapag-control ng inflammatory response. Every 2 hours ang bigay and then every 3 times a day until mawala yung symptoms. Diba? Not unless magkaroon ng diarrhea, mag-stop ka. So you have to address yung yung proper way of providing the treatment sa mga cases ng providing colchicine and steroids. Sa steroids naman, ang madalas na magiging reaction dyan, ang pait. So always tell them yung taste nun, papakla. And then at the same time, dapat iniinom siya after meals. Kasi it can also be upsetting sa stomach kapag nag-take ka ng steroids na walang laman ang tiyan. Okay, so dapat proper education and well knowledge with the background of the patient. So, since nadaanan na natin yun, ito, sabi natin, for your NSAIDs. So, you could start your NSAIDs for the acute gouty arthritis cases. Either use kung ano yung ano yung prefer mo. Either ibuprofen, naproxen, indomethacin. Sa clinic, I think madalas nabibigay natin naproxen, ibuprofen. Depende sa inyo, sa residents kung ano nabibigay nyo dyan. So those are usually the first line medication. Now, however, if let's say meron siyang history of gastric ulcer, okay, it should always have a backup. Sabi nga dito, kung meron siyang history of gastric ulcer, mag-backup ka ng PPIs. Okay, either Esomep, Lansomep, para lang din, let's say quiet naman, wala naman siyang history ng epigastric pain, dapat meron kang preventive na magkaroon ka ng, if ever magkaroon siya ng pangangasim sa sikmura, meron kang ma-provide na PPIs after the treatment, during the course of the pain medication, para hindi siya mag-develop ng GI symptoms, like a gastric GI ulcer for cases na may nagtitake ng NSAIDs. Kasi usually yan yung mga binabantayan natin. Pero kung alam naman na natin na may history siya ng gastric ulcer at na endoscopy, medyo layo-layo ka na sa NSAIDs. Mag-provide ka na lang either a COX-2 alternative para lang din mas less yung chance magkaroon ng irritation sa lining ng gastric mucosa. So example naman ng COX-2, that would be your Etoricoxib, 120 milligrams, and Celecoxib, 200 milligrams. So difference, Etoricoxib, 120 or 90 milligrams, kahit once a day mo lang ibigay for the pain. Celecoxib kasi 200, twice a day. Pero yung 400, I think once a day lang naman. So that is for the pain, okay, for the patient. So weigh nyo, give NSAIDs kung walang history of ulcer. Pero kung meron, alternatively, give your COX-2. Colchicine. So dapat for colchicine, it's usually the first line therapy for acute gout, especially for attack prophylaxis for chronic kidney disease patients with proper dose adjustment. So as effective as NSAIDs, but slower in reducing the severity of acute attack. So you could start the patient with an NSAID or a pain reliever and colchicine sa acute attack. Okay? So doses is usually 500 micrograms, 6 to 12 hours, hourly, and then recommended, I think, bibigyan naman tayo 3 times a day moving forward hanggang mawala yung symptoms. So, effective to during the first acute gout attack. So, dapat ito yung mga sinisimulan nyo during acute gouty arthritis. So again, this is the dosage. Special consideration, syempre, if meron siyang GI irritation. Sabi ko nga, kapag nagkaroon na siya ng symptoms ng diarrhea, saka ka na mag-stop. Okay? So, kadalasan kasi yun yung one of the signals na, oh, stop na kasi nagtatae na siya o nagsusuka na, gano'n. Pero it's very effective in controlling the pain meds or the pain. So, ang target kasi nito is usually, ano ba sabi dito? Ang main, hindi na nabanggit. Main target this is mitochondrial, no? So, it can disrupt din yung pain signals ng cases of gout. Now, ito din is also considered as a first line. So, for acute gouty arthritis, we have 3: NSAIDs, corticosteroids, colchicine. Yung tatlong yun. Pag lumabas sa exam, what are the first line for acute gout? Lumabas dun febuxostat or allopurinol. Hindi yun yung sagot. Okay? Pag-except, yun dapat yun, yung mga exceptions. Okay? Pero kung nakita mo yung residente, nagreseta din ng febuxostat, well, may chances pa rin naman na nagbigay ka, pero we'll discuss that later. Kung magbibigay ka nun, may mga possible na mangyari sa pasyente. Okay, for corticosteroids, it's also one of the first line therapies for acute gout. Short acting lang, but very effective. You can give either your methylpred or your prednisone. Yun yung madalas na available sa market. So it helps disrupt the inflammatory response, specifically due to the irritation of the crystals sa my joint area, no? So ito yung dosage natin. Sa clinic, sa private practice, ito madalas binibigay ko. Methylpred, 4 milligrams, parang 3 times a day, gano'n. Initial lang, lower lang. Pero intra-articular to, ay mali. Hindi ako nag-intra-articular. Ito sa ortho to. Ito, yung oral. Methylpred 4 milligrams or 3 times a day, yun usually binibigay ko sa mga patients sa private practice. Pina-follow up ko sila after after 2 weeks. Pero yung methylpred, usually I give it only for 3 to 5 days para after nun, di stop na agad. No need for tapering for 5 days. Kasi mababa lang naman yung dosage natin. Okay? So, yun lang, ingat lang tayo if meron siyang mga other cases like CNS infection, ganon, or immunocompromised states. Medyo you have to weigh things. Kailangan ba niya nito? Okay? But this is also important in cases of joint pain. Yeah. Interleukin inhibitors, ito medyo mahirap to hanapin, pero nice to know. Yeah. Now for long-term effect, dyan na pumapasok yung urate lowering therapy like your febuxostat and your allopurinol. So indications for the therapy would include the presence of the patient's gout, of example, one subcutaneous tophies, disabling attacks, meaning 2 attacks per year. So let's say nagpatingin na siya, first checkup mo. Tapos nag-normalize siya. And then nagkaroon na siya ng second attack. Okay, so pangatlong check-up niya na yon, tapos second attack niya, meron na siyang pain ulit. Pwede ka na mag-start ng urate lowering agents. Okay? Clinical signs of radiologic damage of the gout can also be seen sa mga ganitong cases. So, in long-term urate lowering therapy, you give your xanthine oxidase inhibitors, your allopurinol and febuxostat. Now, bakit sabi ko kanina, kapag nagbigay ka sa first na attack niya, nagbigay ka nito, ang nangyayari kasi dito sa xanthine oxidase inhibitors, nire-release niya yung extra uric acids crystals sa sa deposition. Kung let's say nakadeposit siya sa joints, nagbigay ka ng allopurinol and febuxostat, bumalik yung pasyente after 3 days, dok, sumasakit pa rin. Sumasakit lalo. So may tendency kasi yung febuxostat at allopurinol, bine-breakdown niya yung nakadeposit. Mas nag-i-increase yung level ng uric acid sa my joint area. So mas nagfe-flare yung first onset. So mas importante kasi during the time na during the attacks, kailangan i-control mo na yung pain. Okay? Kasi kapag ganun, parang mas nag-worsen kasi yung symptom, nagkakaproblema yung pasyente na iniisip nila, parang hindi gumagana yung gamot. Pero kung na-start na yung ng pasyente at natotolerate naman niya, well, ituloy mo na lang, i-continue mo na lang. Pero there are instances kasi na it can uh, cause instances na parang sumasakit lalo yung joint pain kahit naka-febuxostat or naka-allopurinol. So you have to weigh that into consideration. Okay? Lalo na kung first attack niya at hindi niya alam yung pakiramdam na nagkakaroon ng gout. Now, allopurinol should also be started, medyo mag-ingat lang, start ka lang siguro sa 100 and then later on, i-increase mo siya sa 300. Okay? It is recommended that sa first line urate lowering treatment, including for patients with CKD stage 3 and higher. So, as well as CVDs. Now, kung ito kasi, PNDF to, pwede siya. Okay, pero kung let's say gusto mong ibang gamot, febuxostat, pwede rin naman. Pero yun lang, unfortunately kay febuxostat, hindi siya kasama sa PNDF. I think meron naman tayong supply of allopurinol sa pharmacy natin. So, pwede nyo itong i-prescribe. Okay? So, they are good in regulating the production of yung uric acid. Okay, uric acid crystals sa inyong joints. So, they can be best given in the long-term therapy for gout patients. Okay, long-term. Hindi siya dun sa acute onset. Okay, that's the first part. Okay? Now, ang best na partner ni allopurinol tsaka febuxostat kadalasan is probenecid, which is your urate, excreting or uricosuric. Maganda siya para mailabas mo yung excess na uric acid crystals to the urine. Okay? Pero I think wala tayong makitang ganitong gamot so far sa public. So, mas maganda kung meron man, maganda siya ng isang combination. Lalo na sa mga patients na may CKD. So again, these are the dosage. Initial, again, allopurinol 100. Okay? Pwede mo na siyang increase later on. Let's say, for example, after 2 weeks, kung wala ng symptoms, or sa follow-up niya, pwede mo na increase to 200 and then later on to 300. Depending on, let's say, the level of severity sa blood uric acid niya. Okay? So, pwede kang mag-follow up sa pasyente mo every 2 weeks for gout. Kung let's say, sinisipag ka. Pero kung let's say, maraming pasyente, pwede kang mag-follow up after a month. Yan. Febuxostat also, you can give it at 40. You can increase it to 80, lalo na kung hindi gumagana. So, just take note of the adverse reactions. Yan. Uricosuric, ito yung enhances renal excretion of the uric acid at the proximal convoluted tubules. Best partner ng xanthine oxidase na agents natin. Okay? Or your allopurinol and febuxostat. Now, take note that these types of medication are there's a chance pero small risk of hepatotoxicity. So, kung very beneficial naman siya, pwede natin i-prescribe. So, ito yung dosage niya. Uricolitic para ma-disintegrate or metabolize, ma-dissolve, kumbaga, uric acids. Pegloticase. Pero wala pa akong makitang ganito. Nagko-comment pa sa atin ito, wala ata. Okay, pegloticase. IV naman to. Now, is surgery a option? For chronic tophaceous gout, you can consider surgery, but with the following conditions. Okay, kasi kung may mga pasyente magtatanong sa'yo, Dok, pwede ko bang patanggal? Dok, pwede bang patanggal na lang ito? Ganon. Always tell the patient na once, let's say, pinatanggal natin, it can recur. Pwede siyang bumalik. Now, here are the conditions na pwede natin consider. Let's say, for example, advanced tophi deposition resulting to major joint disruption. Sa may kamay, dito, lumaki. Hindi na siya makatrabaho kasi trabaho naman niya more on handworks. That can be a consideration kasi it impairs the patient's function sa trabaho sa bahay. So you can consider removal of the tophi. Another, tophi collection causing pressure symptoms. Let's say nagka-tophi dito sa may wrist. And nagkakaroon siya ng neuropathy. And nag-i-induce siya ng carpal tunnel. So you can consider referral to ortho to remove the tophi. Okay? Tophaceous ulcers, meaning pumutok na yung tophi. Patanggal na lang. To avoid infection. Cosmetic-wise, pag may mga pasyente, may nakikita kayo, may mga puti-puti din dito. May mga chances na tophi yun. So, kung nakako-conscious siya, nakikita yung tophi sa may rating ng tenga, ganun, patanggal na lang. Okay? Or, let's say nga, since nagkaroon ng ulcer, nagkakaroon ng, superficial bacterial infection sa area ng ulcer because it's an open skin, mas magandang mag-cause ng debrima and removal of the tophi to prevent further infection. Yun naman ang ayaw natin. Yun naman ang gusto pala natin. Para hindi siya magkaroon ng further systemic infection. So ulcerations, the tophi may require debrima. Yan. So these are the dosage lang for the medication and for the NSAIDs natin. So I think this is the last slide. Last slide na to. So this is a algorithm na magandang makita. This is from MIMS. So pwede natin i-run down ito. You see the patient with the signs and symptoms suggestive of acute gout. So you could use the algorithm and the criteria that I presented earlier. So is the diagnosis more in line? Kung more than 8 yung criteria niya, you can confirm that it's gout. Okay, proceed to having assessment of gout and then and evaluate your risk factors and comorbidities. Okay, is the patient undergoing an acute phase? Kung acute siya, okay, you start with, anong tatlo? You have your corticosteroids, colchicine, and even your NSAIDs. And control the pain muna. Okay? Second line would be your interleukins. Pero yun nga, rare naman yun. So yung tatlong yun, pinakamahalaga na first line treatment for acute gout. Okay? Now, follow up the patient after 2 weeks or pag nawala na yung symptoms. Later on, assess the patient kung okay na siya. Kung wala na siyang symptoms after the treatment of acute symptoms, anong category na siya or anong phase na siya? Intercritical gout. Now, for intercritical gout, dyan ka na best mag-check ng uric acid. Okay, if your uric acid is already checked, you start, kung mataas yung uric acid levels, you start urate lowering therapy, febuxostat or your allopurinol. Okay? And then kung available, you give your uricosuric or your propenicillin for long-term urate lowering therapy. Pag nagkaroon ng attack ulit, okay? Pag nagkaroon ng attack ulit, go back to acute treatment. First line yung tatlo. Okay? Now, kung bumalik ka na, parang second attack niya na for the year, you can continue your Febux and allopurinol. Okay? Kasi second attack of the year. Yun ay sinasabi natin na lower long-term urate therapy. Pwede nang mag-add ka ng xanthine oxidase na medications. Okay? Now, aside from that, you should also provide non-pharmacologic therapy even in the first attack and even in long-term attack. So, importante na ma-emphasize kung ano yung mga kailangan nilang i-prevent and i-control sa kanilang lifestyle and ma-identify kung ano yung mga possible complications in the future. Lalo na kung nag-develop siya ng tophi. Okay? If let's say, for example, na control yung symptoms, regularly follow up the patient and try to control the other comorbidities of the patient. Kasi hindi lang magsa-stop dun sa gout. Okay? You have to address also other comorbidities that can drive the presence of gout in the patient. Hypertension, obesity, diabetes, okay, the list goes on. Kung meron siyang mga other comorbid conditions. Okay? And it's important always to emphasize kung ano pa rin yung mga kailangan niyang iwasan during the treatment. Okay? I think this is the last slide. Ay, wala na ba? Ayan. So, may mga questions kayo? 1 hour, sakto. May mga tanong ba kayo? Or gutom na kayo?
Sir Chris, may tanong ako.
Yes, go.
Kasi usually sa pag nag-initial assessment kasi, diba
Hmm.
to consider gouty arthritis.
Hmm.
Tapos kapag nagawa na yung diagnostics,
Hmm.
nasa may working impression na yung kapag
Paano nyo nilalagay yung impression natin to consider?
kasi sir may binigay kang parang scoring.
Hmm.
Tama ba sir?
Oo.
Oo. So, hindi siya clinically na pwedeng parang diretso na po kami na acute gouty
Pwede kang
arthritis
diretso.
sa first visit
Oo.
niya, sir.
Pwede kang diretso, let's say, if you get the score of more than 8. You can
Pwede
directly
na po yun, sir.
Oo. If you
Hindi,
get the
hindi
score,
na siya to consider.
hindi na. Lalo na if let's say monoarthritic, swelling, nag-red, tapos hindi naman siya febrile, not suggestive of septic arthritis,
Mm-mm.
highly associated with intake of food. Okay? All out na. Kung yung score mo ay above 8,
Yes,
based on the scoring, mag-call ka na ng acute gouty arthritis in flare. So, pwede mo
in
nang,
flare. Yes po, sir.
let's say,
Pwede ko nang
kung kung
diretso.
naman, 5 to 7 lang yung score mo, sabi na kanina, if 5 to 7 lang yung score mo, pwede ka pa rin mag-call ng diagnosis na monoarthritis, probably secondary to gout, or probably secondary to acute gouty arthritis. So, pwede yun ang consideration mo. Monoarthritis, kasi pwede rin naman osteoarthritis yun. Now, you can do a diagnostics like your x-ray para ma-identify mo if ever mayroong mga erosions, ganun.
Yes, sir.
Pero kung let's say, nasa history pa lang, sinabi na niya na matagal na doc
Yes,
na
siya.
nagkakaroon na siya ng history ng pag pananakit ng joints, lalo na kapag kumakain ako ng ganito, ganon. Meaning,
Mm-mm.
meron na siyang history ng attacks. So it's not the first attack anymore.
Yes, sir.
Yung first attack anymore. So parang kung second attack niya na for the year, edi highly suspicious na pwede ka na rin mag-request ng uric acid mo. Because it's already the second attack. Kung baga, na-catch mo siya. Pero kung first attack pa lang, at outright na gout, kahit di mo nang pagawa mo ng uric acid.
Yes, sir. Thank you po. Basta important sa mga rotators, you have to record or ilagay sa chart yung kung papaano nyo na-diagnose yun, patient.
You could write down the criteria
Yes, Doc.
sa
Opo.
chart kung ilan yung scoring system mo, either ULAR or yung primary care scoring system natin for gout. Okay, you could use that as a tool para ma-justify yung diagnosis nyo for gout. And huwag kayong matakot. Pag na-defend nyo naman ng maayos yung clinical impression mo, hindi ka naman sasabunin ng doktor. Kasi it's validated naman in most often yung cases na yon. Yung 2015 na classification na medyo mahaba, sensitivity is around 80 or 90%. So, very helpful yun. Sabi ko nga, kahit sa clinical parameters pa lang, makoscore ka na, you could diagnose gout even without laboratory or imaging. Kung, let's say, it fits all the criteria in clinical practice.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay? Wala tang tanong. May tanong ba ba?
Sir, sorry.
Yes.
Sir, may question lang ako, sir. Hindi ko lang po hindi ko lang ata kung hindi ko narinig. Pero, na-discuss ba, sir, when to start the, urate lowering? Sorry, sir.
Yung urate lowering, ganito.
Such as mga Febooks, ganun, sir. You still use ba, sir, yung, hindi ko kasi alam, parang European ata yun, sir, yung may, if in flare siya, 7.5 and above, tama ba, sir? Pero pag walang symptoms, 9, tama ba, sir?
Yung 7 and 9. Oo.
Yes, sir.
Hindi yun nasama sa lecture. Pero that is also one of the considerations when you start urate lowering. Now, other guidelines din would suggest din na even in Roma sa IM, in some of the cases na nakikita namin, they suggest na if, let's say, it's the first attack, huwag ka muna mag-start ng urate lowering therapy. Especially, lalo na kung in-flare siya. Meaning, mataas yung uric crystals mo in the surrounding tissues. It will aggravate the pain if you add more yung urate lowering therapy because it will break down yung mga deposits dun sa area na naka-store siya dun sa joints. Kasi it might cause false increase of uric crystals sa area. So magkakaroon siya ng sudden increase in pain or aggravating circumstances na baka maisip ng pasyente na parang hindi gumagana yung gamot kasi mas sumasakit lalo kung titake out ng gamot. Especially in the first attack. No? Pag second attack naman na siya at pag-start ka na ng Febux, okay, wag mo na tatanggalin. Okay, tuloy mo pa rin kasi second attack niya na yun eh. So you can still continue your Febux or your allopurinol whenever you have the second attack flare of your gout. Okay? So yun yung parang key takeaway ng guidelines from the primary care setting.
Thank you, sir. Sir, a follow-up question lang, sir. When would you advise naman, sir, for KUV ultrasound, sir, since may risk na for kidney stone formation pag mataas yung uric acid, sir? May level ba or could it be like an annual thing na lang, sir, kung sakali?
Okay. May mga studies na they would suggest you screen for the kidney stones na din. Especially if it's a chronic gout condition because of the excessive increase in uric acid deposition. Pero you have to weigh din kung will it be afforded? Kaya ba ng pasyente? In my setting, let's say for example, your patient has history of decreased urine output and then chronic tophaceous gout. If it's classified under a chronic gout na phase na, screen also the possibility of renal stones na pwede mag-develop, no? Kasi in that instance kasi na sobrang taas na uncontrolled na yung urate deposition sa katawan, there is a high chance that it can develop uric acid stones sa mga patients and it will warrant a referral to nephro or uro. So kung chronic na yung case, dun na mag-follow up, magpa-assess ka na. Now, in some instances kasi kapag let's say obstructive uropathy, ganyan, dun din, kung lalabas na case na obstructive uropathy siya, let's say you check for the BU and CREA ratio, ganun, or there are instances na nagkakaroon ka ng hematuria because of uric acid stones, or nagkaroon ng incidental finding of uric acid crystals sa urinalysis, you look at the chance of magkaroon siya ng stones. Investigate immediately kapag may nakita kang mga ganun. Kasi usually pinapakita naman yun sa mga cases in the urinalysis, okay, or in the incidental findings sa PE. Wait, kuha lang ng charger.
Thank you, sir. Case-to-case na basis lang din talaga, sir.
Yeah,
No?
wala pa.
Apo. Thank you, sir.
I-weigh nyo yung syempre yung finances ng patient. Kung kaya, kung hindi naman siya needed, yung imaging for the KUB can follow. Pero kung wala naman siyang risk of stones, like history of stone forming, ganun, huwag muna i-assess. But you do the basic urinalysis. That can be the most non-invasive, affordable way of screening kung may uric acid stones yung pasyente. It will present with crystals kapag crystal formation siya.
Noted, sir. Thank you.
Think wala na ba? Parang parang si Rian at saka si Ruby lang din yung nagtanong last kahapon.
Sir, oo, i-inform ko lang po na kasama sa exit exam ng mga Polinians lahat ng mga na-lecture po ng mga consultants po.
Okay. Mag-provide ako ng copy ng lecture siguro sa inyo bukas.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So kung wala na, sige, picture na lang tayo para makakain na tayo.
Ako ba ulit, sir?
Oh, ikaw na.
Sige, ako. Wait lang po. Ayusin ko lang po. Okay. Wait lang, sir. One, two, three. Ay, wait lang. Sir, sorry. Na-adjust yung frame. Bakit hindi naka-on yung iba? Okay, one, two, three. Smile. Isa pa po. Lang po. One, two, three. Okay po.
Okay, good evening. Sige,
Good
kain
evening,
na
sir.
kayo.
Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
So, Korean, duty kasi sila, sila J.I. Uganiza at saka si Corpus, kaya naka-close sila kanina.
Okay, sige. Thank you, Doc. Shan.
Yes, Doc.
Ay, dito pa pala sila. Sige,
Out na kayo.
sa exam. Thanks.